The sun had barely risen, and the morning was still quiet. I had just poured myself a cup of coffee and was settling into the kitchen to review some case files. My name is Angela Martin, and I'm a federal attorney. Over the years, I've fought tirelessly for justice, ensuring that those who abuse their power are held accountable. It's a job I take seriously, though it can be exhausting. That day, however, started like any other. Peaceful and uneventful. At least, that's what I thought. A loud bang on the front door shattered the calm. My heart skipped as I heard the shouting. "Police! Open up!" Startled, I set my coffee down and moved to the door, confused. I lived in a quiet neighborhood, kept my affairs in order, and had never had an issue with the law. As I reached the door, it burst open, and a group of officers stormed in with guns drawn. "Hands in the air!" one of them barked, his voice sharp and commanding. I froze, my hands instinctively going up. "What is going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Search the premises," another officer yelled, ignoring my question as they spread out through my home. "Ma'am, you're under suspicion," the lead officer said, cuffing my hands behind my back. "Suspicion of what?" I demanded, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and anger. "This is my home. I have rights," the officer smirked. "We'll see about that," he said dismissively. The officers began tearing through my house, opening drawers, flipping over furniture, and searching closets. My home, my sanctuary, was being violated, and I was powerless to stop them. I tried to ask for an explanation, but my words were ignored. As the minutes dragged on, I noticed one officer lingering by a picture frame on my wall. It was a photo of me standing with a group of colleagues in front of the Department of Justice seal. His brow furrowed, and he called out to the lead officer. "Hey, Sarge, you might want to take a look at this." "What is it?" the sergeant asked, walking over. The officer pointed at the photo. "That's her, isn't it?" The sergeant turned to me, his face suddenly uncertain. "What do you do for a living?" he asked, his tone softer now. "I'm a federal attorney," I said firmly, despite the anger bubbling inside me. "And you've just made a very big mistake." The room went silent as I slowly reached into my jacket pocket, my cuffs clinking with the movement. "You're looking for this?" I said, pulling out my badge and holding it up. The sergeant's face went pale. He stared at the badge, then at me, and back at the badge again. "You're with the DOJ?" he stammered. "Yes," I replied coldly. "Angela Martin, federal prosecutor, and I'm gonna need an explanation for this unlawful raid on my home." The officers began to fidget uncomfortably, the confidence they'd stormed in with now replaced by panic. "Ma'am, there must have been some sort of mistake," the sergeant said quickly, trying to save face. "A mistake?" I repeated, my voice rising. "You barged into my home without cause, detained me, and trashed my property. You call that a mistake?" The younger officer who had pointed out the photo looked genuinely remorseful. "I think the warrant might have been for another address," he said quietly. "That's no excuse," I snapped, glaring at the sergeant. "You're responsible for verifying your information before breaking down someone's door." The sergeant stammered out an apology, but it was clear he knew there was no justification for what had just happened. "We'll clean up," he said weakly, "and we'll leave right away." "You'll do more than that," I said, my voice sharp as steel. "I want the names and badge numbers of everyone here, and trust me, this won't be the end of it." The officers began cleaning up in a hurry, but the damage was done, not just to my home, but to my sense of safety. After they left, I sat in the mess they'd made, my hands shaking with a mix of anger and disbelief. Being a black woman in this country often means fighting battles no one else sees, even when you're someone like me, a federal attorney, sworn to uphold the law. I called my colleagues at the DOJ and explained what had happened. They were as outraged as I was and promised to investigate the officers involved. That night, as I sat down to document the incident, I thought about all the people who wouldn't have had a badge to pull out, who wouldn't have been able to defend themselves against such an unjust raid. This wasn't just about me. It was about holding those in power accountable, about making sure no one else had to go through what I did. I vowed to see this through, not just for myself, but for everyone who's ever been treated as less than, because of the color of their skin.